What up, YouTube? Timus here. With the new Cheaper by the Dozen film out now, I decided to do my review for the 2003 Cheaper by the Dozen film. Now, Cheaper by the Dozen the first one, which is itself a remake. So for anyone bashing on the new film for being a remake, and just to let you know, the Steve Martin one is also a remake of, I believe the original one had Spencer Tracy, if I'm not mistaken, or some other actor. I can't remember, but I have seen the original Cheap by Dozen, the one from the 50s and all, but the 2003 one is actually one of those rare movies, like remakes, where I actually prefer over the original. I mean, Cheap by Dozen, which was released on December 25th, 2003, was directed by Sean Levy, who, of course, will later go on to give us movies such as, The Night at the Museum films. He just gave us Free Guy. He, of course, just recently gave us The Adam Project. He was just announced to direct Deadpool 3. So that's right, people. The guy who gave us Cheap by Dozen is doing Deadpool 3. Just wrap your heads around that one, okay? But that aside, Cheap by Dozen actually holds a place in my heart. I really always quite enjoyed this film. Steve Martin, Bonnie Hunt, you had Hilary Duff, Tom Welling, pre-Smallville fame, obviously, Piper Perabo, Alice Stone. I mean, you also had Ashton Kutcher popping up in this. I mean, it's a really great one. Here you got Steve Martin, who plays Tom Baker, with Bonnie Hunt playing Kate Baker, who ends up having 12 kids here, and Tom, is now this high school football coach for this high school football team, while Kate also has retired from journalism to raise her kid. But of course, she ends up having to pretty much writing her own memoir here, and so she ends up going on a book tour, leaving Tom in charge of the kids, who already are unhappy about relocating and all. It's a really fun, charming film about family here. Uh, I mean, Steve Martin. This is maybe one of my favorite Steve Martin films. I mean, it's not a classic. Like, obviously, it's no Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's no The Jerk, nothing like that. But I've always really quite appreciated this. The kids, of course, you have Piper Perabo, who plays the eldest Baker child, Nora, who's now pretty much dating Ashton Kutcher's character, who's a little bit of a douchebag who hates kids and everything. So, yeah, Ashton Kutcher is sort of a d-bag here because he's Ashton Kutcher, obviously. But granted, I love Ashton Kutcher. The guy's always been one of my favorites. But sometimes he could totally play a jerk perfectly here. And of course, you have Tom Welling. I cannot remember if this was like around the time he did Small. I can't remember when Smallville first premiered. I think this was pre-Smallville, if I'm not mistaken. But here you got Tom Welling, who's like the oldest, like one of the oldest, other oldest. You have Hilary Duff, who plays the third oldest. Kevin J. Schmidt plays Henry Baker. Alice Stoner. I've always liked Alice Stoner. It's a shame she doesn't really do much nowadays. But yeah, of course, the twins in this played by Brent and Shane Keisman. They're like the youngest Baker children, but man, they steal so much scenes here. Liana Mummy and Morgan York plays the eighth and ninth Baker children. Forrest Landis plays Mark, who of course is a little bit more unhappy out of them, because his pet, I believe it was a turtle, if I'm not mistaken, sadly died. And I mean, you also had some other cool players too. Like, you also had like Richard Jenkins popping up. There was even a fun cameo by Regis and Kelly here. Uh, I mean, it's a really, I mean, heck, you even for all Supernatural and Smallville fans, if you want to see Smallville and Supernatural just collide here, look no further, because Jared Padalecki's also in this. I mean, I think this was like before, about 2 years before Supernatural happened. So, yeah, if you want to see one of the Winchester boys and Clark Kent, share a screen together, this is like the only time you're probably gonna be able to see it. All right, but anyway, of course, this was like one of my first introductions to Hilary Duff, because I was a little late to the party with Lizzie McGuire back in the days, and Hilary Duff was really charming in this. I really thought she played her part really well. This has some great funny scenes. Obviously, my favorite moments was when they ends up just torturing poor Ashton Kutcher's character with meat, and then, of course the dog, comes out and just gobbles down on Ashton Kutcher's pants and all. I'm like, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite funny singing moments in this film. I mean, it's a really fun, charming flick. Didn't really get great reviews though. Let me see. It has like a 24% Rotten Tomatoes. It's not gonna be for everyone, but it's not a bad movie. Uh, it did spawn a sequel, which I thought the sequel was fine. I'll probably do that. Talk about that here in a bit. But Cheap by Dozen is a really fun little film. It, back in like early 2000s, they always did cool movies when it involved these cool family comedies. When it involved kids acting crazy, whether it's daddy daycare, etc. And Cheap by Dozen was one of them. I mean, Sean Levy, you know, early 2000s, he had a really cool resume. He was coming off of Big Fat Liar, and then he went on to do this. He's a really cool filmmaker, in my opinion, and I really always quite like Sean Levy, and I thought he did a great job with this. So, if you guys have never really seen the original Cheap by a Dozen, I believe it is on. I'm not sure if it's on Disney Plus or anything, but it's a really fun one, worth checking out. I mean, some of the stuff that they. Top off, that poor kid from that poor kid from Cat in the Hat. I always forgot his name. I know he was on Even Stevens. Steven Anthony Lawrence, I think his name is. I was forgetting his name. That kid can't get a break. He ends up getting messed up in this. He almost gets whacked in the bat by the cat in Cat in the Hat. He had a weird 2003 year. But that aside, this is a really fun film. And if you guys never really seen the original Cheap by a Dozen, before you check out the new one, go watch the original. You'll enjoy it. Anyway, let me leave you guys. Have you ever seen the 2003 version of Cheap by a Dozen? Were you a fan of it? Were you not a fan of it? Favorite scenes? Favorite moments? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This is Timmy signing out.